What's up, Raider Nation? Silver and Black Attack coming at you again with another video. And today we're going to go over the game preview of the Las Vegas Raiders versus the Carolina Panthers taking place this Sunday at 1 p.m. Pacific time. So the Raiders are finally back at home after the first two games on the road, picking up a tough win in Baltimore last week over the Baltimore Ravens, which none of us really expected. Now we're already in week 3 here, which is kind of hard to believe. The first 2 weeks already flew by. It's already week 3 of the season. And Carolina coming in, home opener for the Raiders. It's going to be electric. Antonio Pierce said he wants it to be electric, and he said to bring the black, wear black and black out that stadium, and in years past, we've seen that opposing teams have really taken over the stadium, including a game I went to last year against the Kansas City Chiefs, where the stadium was all red. And it was quite hard to believe, being there first time in Allegiant to see the stadium be coated in red like that. But I don't know if the Panthers are, the perfect team right now to blank out the stadium in their, powder blue and white with the decision they made this week to bench number one overall pick Bryce Young and replace him with the Red Rifle Andy Dalton, who does have our number over the past, several years. But Andy Dalton, he's gotten to an age now where he's on the back end of his career, but excited to see if the Raiders can do what they did last week to Lamar Jackson and send pressure after him, blitz him, and get sacks. And Max Crosby had two last week, one the week before, so I know Max Crosby is going to be coming for the Red Rifle Andy Dalton. But if you look at the Carolina Panthers offensive line, statistically not very good. They've already given up 6 sacks through the first 2 weeks. It was 4 against the Saints and then 2 last week to the Chargers. But they were really steamrolled by the Los Angeles Chargers last week. And if you look at it, they only scored 3 points and they scored 10 the week before. So they're not a scoring team. Bryce Young, was making poor throws and making mistakes. So they had to really, make an effort to come alive. And I guess that's what head coach Dan Canals thought was the move, to bench the number one pick. And now he just talked about it today that, he'd be fine with whatever, moving forward. And that's including a trade. And if Carolina is willing to dump Bryce Young already, that means they're really tanking the season away because, next year, as we know as Raider fans, the quarterback class is not looking great. There's a few names in there we've mentioned, like, Quinn Ewers and who just got injured, Carson Beck, Shadur Sanders, all those guys. But there are teams already this year that are in need of a quarterback. Miami Dolphins, going with Skylar Thompson this week. And, they're different teams that really need a quarterback. So if Bryce Young is on the table, I think some of these other teams in the league will make a move. I don't think the Raiders will personally make a move. Back to today's game, I think, a key to the game for the Raiders, if they want to, hold and not allow this big upset to happen with Andy Dalton coming in, is they need to score points. And the defense will do its job. I think the defense is not going to allow Andy Dalton to score 20 points even. It'll be less than 17 is my guess. So the way they've performed the last 2 weeks, stopping Andy Dalton will not be that big of a challenge. But I think Gardner Minshew has to play the way he did in the fourth quarter. And that starts with the offensive line playing like they did in the fourth quarter, holding their own, making blocks, and giving Gardner time to look down the field. When he looked down the field, he completed 18 passes to Brock Bowers and Devontae Adams for well over 200 yards. And obviously that touchdown to Devontae Adams he had, but Brock Bowers almost got in two on the play before with the spinneroonie down to the 1 yard line. But I think that we really need to score points to win this game. And it shouldn't be close. It shouldn't be close. Let me just reiterate that. It shouldn't be close. The Raiders should blow this team out. The way the defense is playing, Patrick Graham has these guys going. Max Crosby, Christian Wilkins, Robert Spillane, Trayvon Merrick, both corners, Jack Jones and Jack Bennett. The defense is rolling right now. And this should be a pretty, comfortable win for the Las Vegas Raiders. And over the years, we've seen it where usually they don't get comfortable wins. We don't get comfortable wins. That's just the Raiders. We always make every game close. So I don't know going into week 3, obviously a huge win against the Ravens last week. I don't know if we're going to blow them out or what, but I mean, it's a pretty safe bet to say that the Raiders are going to get this win this week. And for one key on offense, I think the key player on offense is going to be the offensive line. They got to hold up for Gardner Minshew, and we should see some more runs. I think Zamir White's going to have a breakout game finally this week. Struggled in the past 2 weeks. The fourth quarter last week was pretty good. He marched the ball down and got us to run the clock down to 30 seconds before we kicked that field goal, which was great. But as the line improves in the passing game, it's also going to improve in the running game because they're getting more comfortable with their blocks. They're gelling together. And Jackson Powers Johnson finally going to make his debut this week, which is huge. Dylan Parham's been on the injury report all week, so he might not get the go. So it might be JPJ at the right guard spot with Whitehair at the left guard spot, who Whitehair got benched last week to Andrus Peat and then came back in the game and really held his own. He held his own in the fourth quarter. He did a good job, and I think he's earned a little bit of trust from AP that he can come back, after failure and, make the right play. So the line is going to be the key for the Raiders. And Minshew is going to have to push the ball downfield. He's going to do that. He's going to do that if he gets time. We saw it last game in the second half. When he got more time, he was looking downfield. Devontae, Brock Bowers, even Jacoby had a couple. Trey Tucker was running deep, on majority of his time on the field. He's running these disguised routes down the field that takes the safety off of Devontae, leaving him a one-on-one. Devontae's going to win that every time. We saw on those crazy toe tap catches. But on the defensive side, I think the defensive line is going to bring the heat to Andy Dalton. And I think that's going to be the key to winning this game is getting the defense off the field and getting hits on Andy Dalton. And the Carolina offensive line is by no means great. So changing the quarterback shouldn't make too big of a difference, especially Andy Dalton, who's, mediocre at best, should, he should struggle. I think if we bring blitz with Christian Wilkins and Max Crosby, and Tyree Wilson is getting healthy now. I don't know how much of an effect he's going to be, but he's getting healthy now. He's on track to play this Sunday, but they got to bring the heat. They got to bring the heat. They got to hit this guy. They got to get him to the ground. And the Las Vegas Raiders should have a pretty easy win moving to 2-1, getting the Cleveland Browns next week at home. It can't be another Carlson 4 field goal game against the Carolina Panthers. They can't be stopped that many times for Carlson to kick, field goals, field goals, field goals. They got to score touchdowns, and put this team away early. It's got to be a big lead. The Saints did it. The Saints won, I think it was 46-10 or something. It was a crazy score. And then they dropped 42 again last week on the Cowboys. So if we want a chance, to close this game out early, we got to put points on the board in the first half. We got to really put points on the board. And, we can't leave it up to field goals, to beat this team. Yeah, Raider Nation, just, we really appreciate your support. Hit the subscribe button for us, like, comment, drop the score prediction in the comments. What do you think the Raiders are going to do? I think it's going to be a blowout win. I think the Raiders are going to, hang 30 on this team. I think it's going to be like a 30-10, 30-13 type of victory for the Las Vegas Raiders. I know we always wish for blowouts, when we have these easier games on the schedule, but we don't always get it. But hopefully this week, with how bad the Carolina Panthers have been the last 2 weeks, we'll finally get, a statement win over a very not good team in the Carolina Panthers, who are poorly coached, in my opinion. I think Dan Canal's third game now. The first 2 games really poorly got his squad ready to go, and benching Bryce Young again, just not the move. Just not the move. So Raider Nation, subscribe to us, drop a comment, score prediction, and like this video, share, and we'll see you in the next video.